It's the South Carolina Good Life Podcast.
Welcome, Realtors, to the South Carolina Good Life Podcast. I'm your host, Tiara Pitts, the Ethics and Legal Compliance Counselor for SCR. Each year during Black History Month, we take time to reflect on the legacy, leadership, and lived experiences of our Black professionals in our industry. Today's conversation is especially meaningful as we highlight the journeys of leaders who have helped shape real estate in South Carolina and beyond. They also have opened the doors for others through mentorship, leadership, and dedication. Their stories remind us why representation matters, why leadership matters, and why expanding home ownership to all is especially crucial during these times. I'm honored to be joined by three special guests. First, we are joined by Candice McCuien, who is a Columbia native. She actually purchased her first property at the age of 22, which inspired her experience and passion for real estate. She founded Excel Real Estate in 2017 and has since mentored over 300 agents across 3 states and 7 locations. In 2025, she recently partnered with LPT Realty and now operates as Excel by LPT Realty. Her commitment to membership, leadership, and service has left a lasting impact on our industry. So welcome, Candice, to the podcast today.
Thank you, Tiara. It's great to be here.
Next, we welcome Henrietta Gadson. Henrietta is a Beaufort, South Carolina native who is a licensed broker in both South Carolina and North Carolina. She's a real estate instructor and coach with over 14 years of experience. She specializes in relocation services and is deeply committed to mentoring and helping clients navigate one of the most important decisions in their life, which is purchasing a home. Her leadership includes service with SCR's Leadership Academy, the Professional Standards Committee, and her local association, where she continues to elevate professionalism and education. She is currently a realtor and trainer with Home Advantage Realty Group as of 2026. Lastly, we are honored to be joined by Stephen Kohn, who is a U.S. veteran and respected real estate leader with 11 years of experience in our industry. He has helped more than 1,000 families achieve home ownership and has served in numerous leadership roles across realtor organizations and community nonprofits. Stephen's career reflects a constant dedication to advocacy, leadership, and to communities that he serves. Thank you all for being here today.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. So we're going to jump right in with some introductory questions. How did you each get involved in real estate?
I'll jump in, Tiara. I wish I could say something profound and something very deep, but I jumped into this industry with real estate because I did not like the career I was in. I was in telecommunication sales, and I am not a techie person. And my husband and I were in the process of building our second home, and I fell in love with the process. And the on-site agent told me, she said, Candice, you can do this too. So the year was 2007. For those of us that go back, we know what happened around that time. But that's the time that I decided to jump into the industry, and the rest is history.
Awesome.
Yeah. So I had a little bit of a different experience. So we were young first-time home buyers, 25 years old. We were about to get married, and my husband went to buy our very first home. And so when we bought that first home, we needed a lot of work done to it. And I don't know about you all, but as a first-time home buyer, we had no money to do fixing up or anything like that. So we spent a lot of money trying to fix that home up. And I know that in 2008, 2009, we went to sell that home. So we actually had to pay to pretty much sell that home. So we lost a lot of money. Wow. And so that is actually when I realized, I didn't want that to happen to another first-time home buyer like us. So I wanted to go into real estate then, but as you all know, real estate is 100% commission. So we didn't have the funds for me to be able to switch careers at that time. And so I waited years later to be able to switch careers to go into real estate. So really, it's a calling for me to make sure that first-time home buyers do not experience what we experience as first-time home buyers.
Yeah, I wish I had a profound story as well. But so I was in the Air Force for 8 years. I had medical retirement at 14, and I was trying to figure out life, figure out what's next. I was an Air Force contracting officer, so read, write, issue government contracts. And I thought that real estate was something that I saw over the years, but I never had any direct contact with. My parents were not homeowners at the time. And so it's like, well, what does that look like? And so I wanted to kind of be a catalyst in our family for it. Got licensed in 2015, and I just fell in love with the opportunity of ownership. And the lack thereof and what that means for our communities, just want to be a catalyst for it. So that's what got me into it, and that's what's keeping me here.
Awesome. So you both just mentioned buying your first home in your 20s. Recent studies have come out where the average age of a first-time home buyer is now 40.
Yeah.
So how were y'all both able to do that in your 20s? And is this a reality for people today that are trying to break into home ownership?
Absolutely, it's a reality. Times have changed, but I was always very studious and made sure that I kept my credit in a good spot after I saw some family members and what the power of credit and what it can do. I remember spending a lot of times with my grandparents, and I pretty much helped grow up with them. They helped raise me, essentially. And I remember, I was really young, but I remember someone telling me, Grandpa paid off the house. I didn't know what that meant, but I always wanted to know what that felt like, what it meant to own a home. And so when I got my first job in telecommunications at a call center right after college, I said, you know what, let me make the call to see if I can even start the process. Did not know what I was doing, but I ended up making a phone call. A realtor actually gave me his card, and I called him. I said, hey, I think I want to buy a house. Again, had no idea what that looked like, what it meant. He sent me to a lender. The lender immediately said, you're approved. And I just jumped right on in. I stepped out on faith. And I knew from that point that it was a purpose. And so I decided to move forward with that purpose.
And I think the biggest thing that, as you mentioned, is it possible for, in your 20s to own a home? The biggest thing that we have to do is be advocates and, make sure that people know what they can do, because education is key. Some people think because they have student loans, they cannot purchase a home, but that's totally not true. Some people think that they need 20% down to purchase a home. That is, of course, some things that, we need to educate our young buyers about so they can understand that, yes, home ownership is possible even in their 20s.
Absolutely.
Awesome. And you all have very personal stories about why home ownership matters to you. When let's say you're talking to a client that they don't understand the value, or maybe they're been a long-term renters, maybe like your family, they didn't have someone who had already owned a home, which were a lot of people, and especially minorities, are familiar with that. So what is your advice to people who just feel like, well, I've never seen this done and it's not a reality for them? What are some things that you could tell someone like that about what are the benefits of home ownership?
So there are a lot of benefits, Tiara, and I would say one is sustainability. As a homeowner, there are times when life may start lifing, and you may have to look to your home to pull out equity, essentially pull out cash to make things happen for yourself and your family. And that is essential. There may be an emergency, there may be a health issue going on where you need some funds. And being a homeowner, you may be able to access what you need. So sustainability is one very vital thing that I think people should look into. And also walk away from the fear. Walk away from the noise, because people that's never walked the path, they don't understand the path. And so when you quiet the noise and you know what God has for you, I have to put my faith in it. When you know what God has for you, you step away from the fear and you move forward in it.
Yes. What about you, Stephen?
Yeah, I just think, I think in today's world, like minorities or and even just our younger generation, they just need to believe in themselves. We're in the space right now where all they do is compare themselves to other people, right? And social media and all the things that they see on the internet, and they want to skip steps. But in this time and age, which is where realtors come in at, we help guide them through that process and show them that it's possible. I think the other piece to it is really just identifying that hey, here's what you qualify for, and this is what you need to get, and use this as a stepping stone to get to the next level. It is not getting your dream home on the first purchase, right? But that's what reality, and that's what the internet kind of shows, and that's what they want. But again, they don't have any guidance or know any difference. I think what I love about the benefits of home ownership is really the sustainability for sure, the stability, but also it's forced savings. Like, it forces you to save. The equity build is enormous sometimes. If you think about it, there's the studies have shown a lot that home ownership net worth of people that own homes, their net worth is multiples times more than renters, right? And so when we think about what that truly means, you mentioned earlier about how the average first-time home buyer age is 40. Well, for minorities, African Americans, is actually about 6 to 8 years past that. Oh, wow. So from 46 to 48, saying that's the average for a first-time home buyer that's African American. Look at the difference of net worth or equity that we lack. Yes. So we talk about the benefits, it's getting ahead.
Also, it's a sense of pride, a sense of pride, and then a sense of control, right? Because when you're renting, of course, your landlord can say, hey, the rent is going up next month, or in 2 months, it's going to go up $200, and you have to try to come up with that $200. Of course, your job is not giving you a raise of $200 by next month, so you have to come up with those funds. And, just understanding that mindset and helping people understand that if you do own a home, it is stability, and it is a way for you to gain generational wealth, right? So I have helped clients who, they've sold a home and they have never seen the amount of money that has gone into their bank account that they receive from actually selling a home, and it definitely builds generational wealth.
That's awesome. And you both mentioned that wealth building. I read the study that you're referring to, Stephen. The average wealth of a renter is about $10,000 versus a homeowner is about $300,000. Yes. So it's a big gap in those numbers there. And like you said, the control, the wanting, maybe I want to paint this room. Maybe I don't want to have to ask for permission to have my animal at this place and pay a pet fee. So that ownership and control is very important. And Stephen, you also mentioned social media and perception versus reality. So some people look at real estate as a job where you just get rich and you just get all these sales in your first year. What do you guys have to say? Is real estate something you jump into and your first year you're making 6 figures?
I'll let y'all answer.
It's possible. So real estate is a career that is essentially uncapped earnings. So the potential to earn, it's there. It's through the roof. You can break the glass ceiling with your earnings. However, it is a sacrifice. To get to a certain point in real estate financially, there's a lot of sacrifice with your time, with your energy, with your resources, that you just have to make sure that you are diligent and you stay focused, and that's going to make the difference. But I always tell any agent that I've mentored throughout the years, I tell them they define their own success. So to not compare, because comparison is the thief of joy. And you can't look at what someone else is doing. Everyone's goal in life is going to be different. Every agent, we all have different DNA, right? So it's possible to make those 6 figures, but it does take hard work, dedication, commitment, and sacrifice.
Yeah. And there's definitely a lot of hard work that goes into being a real estate agent. You sacrifice sometimes, even though people say, when I become a real estate agent, I'll be able to make my own schedule. I'll be able to do all the things that I want to do. But I know sitting at this table, you all know that that's definitely not something that we're able to do. We work when our clients don't. If my client gets off at 5 o'clock and I need to show a house at 7 or 6, then I'm going to show that property to them. When it comes to real estate agents, so it is sacrifice. Now, I do not miss my son's track meet or a basketball game. I am able to do that because I can schedule around things sometimes. But yes, if you're going to make 6 figures, it's going to take work, and it's hard work. And real estate is not always glitz and glamour, right? It's not always about making the money. It's about what we do for our clients, because our clients come first, and what their needs are comes first.
And I'll just say, I think it's so, I always think to myself, why do I do this every day? I get up every day, and real estate agents, we depend on other people to be ready. Your entire salary, commissions, everything depends on other people being ready. So if they're not ready, then you don't get paid. But you continue to wake up every day and do this, right? So one of the things, I think the biggest piece for me is the transition for people that come from a W-2 job into straight sales or straight commission. It's very hard for them because, you know, you could go 30, 60, 90 days without getting paid at all on a transaction, or even up to a year or so or longer.
I was actually one of those people who, you know, I came from a government job. Like, I was getting a short paycheck every 2 weeks, and then I went straight into 100% commission, and it was like, okay, so why did I do this?
So the mental fortitude, I think, that you have to have, people just aren't built that way now. And so that's one of the things that I hope that new real estate agents will see and understand, especially from here, that we show a lot of the good stuff, but there's a lot of sacrifice behind the scenes. There are a lot of sacrifices. There are a lot of things that we have to go through. There's a lot of education too. There's a lot of class hours that we need to, that we have to be in, but then also we navigate so many changes in regulations and policy that we have to stay abreast on. So it's not just the closing photos. It's not just those. It's a lot of work behind it, and a lot of people advocating on our behalf as well.
I think my very first year, I spent the entire year educating myself about what real estate was about, because this is not an OJT job. Like, you can't just practice on your clients.
Right. It's very serious. Okay, so you guys are talking a lot about education, which brings me to the point of you, Henrietta, and Stephen are both active trainers and educators in this space. How did you get into that, and why is it important, especially you being Black professionals in educating? Of course, you educate all, but essentially for our Black realtors in celebration of Black History.
Yes. So I actually feel like my success is not for me. My success is for others. So I have a service heart and a servant heart, and I want to give back. And so this is my season. This is my season to, you know, I've been a real estate agent for 14 years, and I'm just stepping into the phase, the leadership phase, and just stepping into, you know, my season of giving back. And so that is what I want to do. I want to make sure that, you know, if I had someone like me, I could actually get to where I am quicker. If I had a mentor or someone that wasn't, that was able to share their knowledge with me, then I could actually get to where I am quicker. And so I don't want to be a gatekeeper of what I'm blessed with. I want to share what I have with others.
That's awesome. Really good. What about you?
Yeah, I think I identified gaps in the industry, and training and education was one of them, which is why I started my brokerage in 2020. And really, it was based on, I was on the other side of the transactions with people that looked like me, and they weren't trained as efficient or effective as I was. And I'm like, well, why? Why is that? And so I realized that, you know, all brokerages are not created the same. There are, you know, system services and different things and benefits at different brokerages for a reason. They all come at, you know, different costs and different fees. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking about the consumer. And so I thought, you know, back then, and even more so now, if I can get to the agent, then I can get to the more consumers. Because if I just educate the consumer on my own, I'm only limited to what my capacity is. But if I can educate a lot of agents and make sure that, you know, they're trained professionally, they actually advocate not just for the consumer, but stand up for themselves in our industry, because professionalism in our industry is everything. And so, you know, helping them to understand and helping them to have the buy-in that we need them to have in our industry, to me, I think makes our industry much more professional and much more innovative, I think, as to where we're going in the future.
Yes. And you all are also involved in leadership at your local association, your state association, and probably national too. I would assume you've been involved in some national. So what importance as a Black professional, why have a seat at the table? Why have this podcast or be on SCR leadership or the executive committee or presidents of your local board, what is the importance of not just being a realtor or an agent, but also getting involved?
That question is dynamic because it has a lot of layers. And I would say the importance to have a seat at the table is service. We have to have a seat at the table to know what is happening in the background. Another reason, if you've ever seen a depiction of the iceberg, where you see the tip, but there is such a depth underneath the surface of that iceberg where a lot happens. So to have the seat at the table and to invite yourself in that room, you can help regulate policies. Essentially, you can help legislate. You can help be an advocate. And that's what it's really all about for ourselves as realtors and for the consumer. So it's very important to have that seat. If the civil rights movement never happened, if those pioneers and legends and everyone, the icons from that movement, and even prior to that movement, never created their own table, we probably would not be in this space today. So someone has to start the movement. Someone has to essentially build the table if we're not invited to the table.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm getting chills as when you ask that question, only because I'm sitting next to someone who was the CCRA president, first female African American, and so just sitting next to her and just knowing that she's an influencer. Keon Aldridge, which is our past president, just seeing her, right, having a seat at the table. So that is what paved the way for me, right? If I see people like them, then I know that it's a possibility for me. So it's important for us to have a seat at the table because there are people at the table that do not experience what we experience in the industry. So how would they know what we experience if we are not at the table to voice our opinion about what we are experiencing?
Yes, and what are some things, some unique challenges that Black professionals and minorities in general may face that other people may not have to face? Do y'all have any stories or experiences where you felt like, okay, I think I'm being treated differently, or your client is having those experiences?
Yeah, I'll say I think it starts back from when the National Association of Real Estate Brokers, NAREB, was founded in 1947. It was founded because we were not able to be part of NAR the way that we are today. And so they created their own table. And what I love about that is that they created something that wasn't even popular at the time. And I feel that we kind of stand on the shoulders of them. And we're not makers, Dr. Martin Luther King said, we're not makers of history, we're made by history. And so what that really means is that, hey, you know what, there are things that happen before you, and you have to continue to carry the torch, which is what I believe that we all are doing here in real estate leadership. But to answer your question, one of the things that I think Black professionals really face that maybe other demographics don't face is we have to fight against the others, or I would say anybody that's not of our color, of our kind, every day for credibility, reputation, education, knowledge, ignorance, or lack thereof, whatever we have to face. We absolutely have to face them, but then we have to face our own community. So instead of just facing outside the doors, we have to come inside, and then we also have to show our own credibility and our reputation to our people, in addition to the outside. So think about that additional pressure that we have, and which is why, again, a lot of Black professionals don't stay in long, or not as professional, or not as I would say. I guess they don't do as many deals or as productive as others because we have an added weight on our shoulders that most people don't recognize. When you think about Black consumers, they have to be financially prepared, but they also have to be mentally prepared too. We have to help navigate through that. There's racial trauma and Black fatigue and emotional exhaustion that's been years and years and systemic. And so we have to help them navigate through that. Most of the time, people that don't look like us, they don't have to do those things because they didn't experience that. And it's not on them. It's just the fact that we have an extra layer. So sometimes it may take us 45 days to close versus 30. Right? And we have to be okay with that. And real estate professionals have to be sensitive to that too. And so when we talk about who are our consumers or who we're serving, we also have to recognize that we got to give them grace because they've been through some things prior to that we might not be aware of. And I urge all people that don't look like us to acknowledge that and really just extend grace where it's needed.
Yes. And yeah, you bring up several great points because even today there's data where Black people are denied loans at a higher rate. And I'm not talking about 10, 20, I'm talking about today's data from banks. So these are ongoing issues that you don't know that's why you're being denied. And not to say that's the only reason, but the data is there and the statistics are there to show there's increasing rates of denials for, lending and things like that and even having that ability. And you also brought up some additional challenges. So Candice, I'll ask you since you were the first Black woman president of Columbia Realtors, how do you feel about people feeling like some Black people who are in certain positions are DEI hires or they're just trying to check a box instead of crediting the hard work that you personally and others like you have put into getting to where you are?
Great question. Thank you for that. So DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, to me stands for definitely earned it. Definitely earned it. And then some. So a lot of people have another term for DEI, but that's my term because I do feel that sometimes we have to prove our resume. And, having a brokerage, and Stephen we were together with that brokerage that sold over $1 billion in real estate in 5 years. Wow. That speaks volumes. And that was right here in South Carolina where the average sales price was, about, depending on the market, about $250,000, $270,000 at the time. But we were able to accomplish that amongst a whole lot of other things that we did as well. So we definitely earned it. We earned the seat at the table. And a lot of people just decide, for whatever reason, to not acknowledge that. And it's not just about race or gender, et cetera, when it comes to DEI. It's about experiences. It's about what we experience systemically and our experiences and how we grew up, our environments. And some of us have had to overcome a lot of challenges. And once we overcome, we definitely earned that seat at the table.
Yeah. I'll say too, as current president of Charleston Trident Association of Realtors this year, it just shows me that it's possible. It shows other real estate professionals that it's possible. When we talk about numbers, NAR put out a few years ago that 6% of 6% of all realtor members are African Americans, but only 1% of the 6% is African American males. Well, me as a real estate professional coming in as an African American male, looking at the statistics, it's only 1%. And to my thought process, I'm like, well, why is that? And does that mean that I can accomplish it because it's not available to me? Because talent is universal, but exposures it's not, right? So we have to get to a point where we bring others along and show them. It's a quote I love, but Shirley Chisholm says, if they don't give you a seat at the table, bring your folding chair. So, but I always say, just stand in the room. Because your influence is what got you there, but speak up when you are in the room too. There's a lot of Black professionals that get into real estate leadership and don't speak up, and it's one of my pet peeves. I have, and just like you said, you definitely earned it. You've earned the right to get in the room. Now use it. Now capitalize, because your voice matters, and if you don't use it, then what are you in the room for?
Now that brings me to a point with you, Henrietta. We ran into a situation where we were at a conference, and at the last minute we needed a trainer to be able to come in and take over a class that was already in session. Henrietta was in the room as an attendee, but she's also certified to teach the course, and she stepped up and taught the rest of that course. It went great. We had great reviews. So how important is it to not only be in that room, but you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready? Like, what can you speak on about that as your experience?
Yes, and I would say that staying ready so you don't have to get ready is one of my mantras. Sitting in that room and being asked to step up, leaders lead, and that is all I say all the time. We talk to people that we lead all the time and we influence others, but sometimes we have to give ourselves a pep talk when we have to step up. And so leaders lead, and so I had no choice when someone asked me to do something. And so I stepped up. And was I afraid? Yes, but I did it scared. So I would say, if you're given the opportunity and you're supposed to be in that space and someone asks you to do something, step up and do it. Yeah.
How do you overcome that fear or that imposter syndrome of, no one that looks like me ever done this before, and people might have something to say about it? Like, how do you, self-talk or motivations that you guys give yourself, or do you rely on others? Do you rely on your faith? How is it navigating that feeling of, am I ready? Am I supposed to be here?
So you have to be, when you're a leader, you have to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. That is what we do every day. Every time we meet a new client, it's a new person, right? Every time we meet a new person that we're going to do business with. So you have to actually be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And in this space, this is, the reality of where we are.
Yes, and Henrietta did an amazing job. I was in the room when she stepped up, and it was incredible. So thank you for that.
Appreciate it.
And I would just always say, like you mentioned, be ready in season and out of season. So sometimes you may feel like this is my time, and then sometimes you may get called on, just as you did, where you may not be expecting, but you were prepared. I would also add, with imposter syndrome, when I was on the board of Central Carolina Realtors Association since 2020. So I came in during the pandemic and continued to be on the board. When I was asked about stepping up to eventually become president, my initial reaction was, oh my goodness, I'm not sure if I'm ready. Mm-hmm. But then I thought about it, so it was an encouragement through my husband and family and also my faith. Mm-hmm. And my husband, Kenny, said, you are ready. Yeah. What do you mean? He was very confused, like, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. Look at what you've accomplished. And I had to take a step back with all humility, but understand, yes, I am ready. I'm ready to take my leadership to another level. And it was a great experience. I'm still on the board now as immediate past president, but it's a wonderful experience. Awesome. And I'm grateful that I did it and honored.
You did an amazing job.
Thank you.
You did an amazing job.
Thank you.
And what are some of the ways, like we've talked about a lot of challenges, but what are some things that throughout your history in this industry that you've seen improve for our Black professionals and our consumers that are getting into homeownership?
I think the biggest thing that I'll say is the fact that we're sitting here today. Mm-hmm. Like, this podcast alone shows progress. Right. I think the partnership and collaboration between the Realtor Association and NAREB chapters and organizations, nationally, state, and local, I think has improved tremendously. I think people feel that they have a voice now, or at least somewhere to voice their opinions. And for some times, we hadn't had that. And so I do feel like those things have changed. I feel like people are listening, organizations are listening. I feel like realtor organizations are listening, but I also feel like they're taking action. Because it's not enough just to listen and don't do anything. They're taking action, and that action, to me, it has made all the difference. So you'll see diversity in a lot of different areas of our organizations. You'll see it in trainers. You'll see it in even the training content that's put out. You'll see it in conferences and speakers and that type thing, because representation matters. And so if we see Black professionals see someone else that looks like us, that's in a certain role, it gives us the psychological mindset to say, you know what, I can do it too. Yes. Right. And so I think those small things that organizations have done have made a huge impact and a huge difference to those that they were trying to serve.
Awesome. So I will leave you guys with a couple of final questions. So what is some advice you would give to a person looking to become a first-time home buyer? If they're looking at this today, like a takeaway or something that they can work on to work toward to own a home and achieve that American dream of homeownership.
I would actually say, don't give up, right? There will be sacrifice. There will be times where you feel like you cannot do it. But I would say don't give up because, there is hope for you to own a home. You might be the first one in your family to own a home like I was. I was the first one in my immediate family to actually own a home. And so my words would be don't give up. Keep pushing.
I would say when that door opens, walk through it. And what I mean by that, there are some people that saw the open door, they had the door open years ago, and today they may not be able to get approved, or it may take some more time. So once the door opens, explore it, walk through it.
It costs to wait, and that wait cost could be very heavy. And it could be, years from now before they get the opportunity to purchase again. And I will say for black consumers specifically, help us close the gap.
Yes.
It is still approximately 30% difference in homeownership rate from Black Americans and white Caucasians. It's been the same prior to 1968, the Fair Housing Act. So if you think about, history, but you think about the economic advantage that we would have if people just had the mindset to just believe in themselves that they could do it, take our advice, get a trusted realtor or a realtist as well, get their knowledge, understand their experience matters, and they will help guide you to your path to generational wealth.
Yes. Yeah. And for my final question, what legacy do you each hope to leave on this industry when it's all said and done?
I would say service and advocacy. Those two things are key points and factors that I want to leave. I want people to know that I served, and I hope to continue doing it for at least 5 more decades, but definitely service and advocacy. I want to continue to be the voice. When I see something, I want to say something. When things have to be changed, when things should be looked at, reviewed, and I want to speak up and be an advocate. Funny story, true enough, Tiara, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. So, not too late, but this still gives me an advocacy voice and to have my voice be heard.
Yeah. So I would say change, right? That I've changed not only lives of my buyers and sellers where they're either building generational wealth or they become that first-time home buyer, but I would say change in agents, change in the industry. Also legacy. So I have a son that's at the College of Charleston, and his major is commercial real estate. Oh, wow. And so I would really love if he was to keep going with that and become a commercial real estate broker, because that will help to build wealth in not just his family, but generations to come.
I'll say, I have a brand, Broker for the People, which I have been named for years. But my legacy, I think, in 20 years, I want people to say that because I stepped up in leadership when it mattered most, that they are able to do what they do, or they were able to purchase.
Wow.
So that's what the legacy I'd like to leave.
That is awesome. And I thank all of you for sharing your perspectives, your insights, your leadership. I've worked with you all on numerous different projects and events. So I just really am thankful. Y'all are mentors to me in this space. And of course, we're all working together, but I look up to you all. And I'm sure it's a lot of other people who feel the same way. So I appreciate you for just sharing this today. I hope that this inspires others in celebration of Black History Month. I hope this inspires people who are thinking that they can't get into home ownership because of barriers, because of student loans, because they don't know anyone who owned a home. I hope that you know that working with a realtor like these wonderful people at the table, you can overcome those barriers. And even though, the statistics may not be in our favor, we are a people who we know adversity, and we're no strangers to that. So just know that it is out there for you, and also for agents, maybe newer agents who are looking to get into the industry, or people who are licensed but they don't have a seat at the table. Know that it's a place here for you, that we're always welcoming new, diverse perspectives and open to change and, learning from people who are actually doing, because sometimes us as lawyers, we have one way, but then, the people in the field have another. So know that we have committee sign up that goes on in the summer. I encourage you all to get involved. And on behalf of South Carolina Realtors, thank you for joining us and continuing to lead with purpose. To everyone watching, thank you for tuning in. Please share this video, like, subscribe, go back and review our old Black History Month videos. We've been doing this every year for about 4 or 5 years, and we wish you a meaningful and empowering Black History Month. Thank you.
For past and future episodes, check out the Good Life podcast at goodlife.screaltors.org. Thanks for tuning in.